It's him for sure.
Scott didn't stop. No, he called me. I thought my wife's up there. I took a shower and then I told her she fixed it. And I got off the track and come back. I say, we all go to city council meetings. Occasionally they'll get like this. Not very often, but every once in a while.
Especially when you have finished road.
Annexation is usually brings them out. That's the biggest. Those are the biggest crowds I've ever seen for annexation.
The A word. The A word.
Do they get time to speak?
Most of my cities run it the same way y'all do. They have a 3 minutes. Now, some of my cities don't hold to the rule and will get into a back and forth, and that can get out of control. But all of them, their official rules are just like we are here.
It would be good to move over.
I'm good to do
Make
that.
it more.
No, you do it. First thing you do. After the minutes.
I literally came in, he said, I timed it earlier today, it was 6 weeks. Hey, we're gonna start the February meeting. Hello, everybody. Let's do roll call. It looks like everyone is present today. Has anyone had a chance to review the January 2020 minutes?
Move to approve the January.
Second.
All in favor to approve the January 2020 minutes with a right-hand vote? Any opposed? Carries unanimously.
I'll move to amend the agenda to move our public comment, since a lot of it looks like it's outsourcing, down to old business.
Second.
Any discussion on that? We have 4 signed up to discuss on the outsourcing, and so what he's asking to do is, I believe Mr. Woolley's gonna talk for a second about the outsourcing, and then we're gonna go by those public comments, so, just to kind of make it more relevant, so, is that okay with y'all, who's signed up to speak? And then we do have one public comment right now that we could take up. We wanna do, or keep all the public.
Let's keep them all together.
We'll just keep them all together. So we need, with a right-hand vote in approving to move the public comments down to all business. Ron, how did you vote on that? Any opposed? That carries unanimously.
I also move to amend the agenda to add an executive session under new business item in front of all items. For
Second.
personal,
To go,
just as the first item.
okay.
I'll second that.
I'm sorry, where was that gonna be?
New business first item.
Okay.
And we've got a first and a second to have an executive session for the first item under new business. Is there any discussion on that? All in favor with a right-hand vote? Any opposed? That carries, and we'll go into executive session. You said for a personnel issue?
Yes.
All right, that brings us to the dance presentation. Y'all come on in.
Hello, I'm Brooke Brewer. This is Sarah Murray. This is most of our seniors on the dance team. So we were asked to come, and we'll be super brief, but we just wanted to give you guys a huge thank you. We had the best time, and I think I do this all the time. Y'all see the video? I cried through the whole video too. It's ridiculous. But it was the greatest experience for these kids, and It means so much for the rule change and for them to get to go. They've had a really good season, and so for our seniors especially to get to cap it off with going to finals and performing in the castle, it was huge. So big time thank you for allowing us to go, for supporting the team. It's been huge for us. I hope it's going to be huge for our school district and our community. And our kids who aren't here, our sophomores and juniors, they're fired up. They're ready to go, like they're ready to start next season today. So we're excited. We just wanted to say thank you big time. I'll cry again if I talk too much more about it. But so our managers, actually the whole time we were there, were kind of working on a little documentary video, just so that they could show you guys kind of what it meant to them. So this is a whole weekend in 3 minutes. So we hope you enjoy it. It's very brief.
On Judgment Day, I won't wait away. I'll be pushing on till the rivers run dry. I've got to try. I'll keep pushing on till my on the stage. It's gonna be more ready. I'll keep pushing on.
Thank you for all of this, all of the school board, parents, administrators, all of it. They made this happen. How do we feel? We feeling good? So ready. I'm not ready at all. I'm so excited to see you out there. I'm ready to soak up the moment. That is a one-time something. I'm ready to soak up. It really is.
Okay, so we didn't advance in jazz, but I think we did our best, and like we were different from all the other dances, but I think we still grew as a team, and I'm excited for tomorrow.
Guys, it's a rainy day, but Alma Dance don't stop, so we're practicing for hip-hop semifinals right here under some cover.
So that's all we've got. Just thank you.
Before y'all leave, they might have a few things to say, but I know for us, y'all made this town so proud. Y'all made history with a district that, how many years old is the Alma School District? It's a big deal, and we realize it, and I think the community does, so we are just thankful that y'all put in that time. I don't know how y'all do it, and so we were excited, so congratulations. Anybody have?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We're going to do principals reports. Mr. Bullard.
Well, we've had a great month at the primary school. January 31st, we had Penguin Day, which Ms. Perkendahl coordinates. She does a unit on penguins, and so we all dressed in black and white on those days, or that for that day. and the kids had a great time with it. We also, on February 5th, participated in Global Day of Play. Students could bring things to school to play with, but no electronics, nothing with a battery. And so we did that for part of the day and most of the day. And some of the skills that teachers saw kids working on, which Ms. Harris put on Facebook in a post if you'd like to look at it, but some of them were patience, taking turns, cooperation, imagination, exploration, creativity, communication skills, collaboration, engineering, evaluation, problem solving, respect, teamwork, kindness, being a good friend, and conflict resolution are a few of the things that the teachers and staff saw kids doing. Which you think about it, you know, a lot of kids our age, you give them a phone or you give them something and, you know, that entertains them, you know, for a long time. But going back old school, no batteries, you know, no nothing, it was a good day. We enjoyed it. Something else that was very interesting, gosh, probably 20 or so years ago is what Sandra told me. She had, her last name just left me, McClure, Sandra McClure, her last name just left me. She had a foreign exchange student in her home. And now fast forward 20 years, this foreign exchange student's gone on, and she's a doctor, her husband's a doctor, she has children, and they came back here for 2 weeks. They're from Colombia. They came to the U.S. for 2 weeks, stayed with Sandra and her family, part of the time I think for sure, and she wanted her children to experience school here. So Sandra talked to me and said, you know, what can we do? And I said, well, we can put them in for 2 weeks while they're here. And she said she doesn't speak English. I said, well, we'll work around that. So, you know, so here it is. I put the little girl first in the classroom, and it was just a great experience. She was smiling every day. The teacher was happy. The kids, you know, of course, loved working with her. And the interactions that the teacher talked about, even though there was the language barrier, it was just great. It was a great thing. So. On the last day, her parents came up and talked to the class, brought them some chocolate from Colombia, and it was really good. It was a neat experience. We also had UAFS Chancellor, Dr. Teresa Riley, came out and visited. I think Mr. Woolley may talk a little bit about that later. That was a nice visit. And then also, Miss UAFS visited some of our classrooms. And if you go on the primary school Facebook page and look at our videos, there's a video of her and Officer Mahan dancing down the hall in front of his office. So that was pretty fun. He heard a lot about that. That was it for our month.
Thank you. It's Mr. Warren.
We also, Mr. Bullard, had students from Columbia. We had a 3rd grader and a 4th grader, same family, and just delightful time with those kids. One thing that I wanted to share tonight that really struck me from the mother when it was their last day, she just looked at me so sincerely and she said they loved being in these schools here in Alma. And the parents said, both medical doctors said we can't get over the quality of the schools here. And then they said our students go to private school in Columbia. They don't go to public school. And so they were used to private school with 9 students in a class, came to Alma, and were just blown away with what was going on. So I wanted to share that. It made me proud, and I think it ought to make all of us proud. I want to mention our robotics team. They're in their 2nd year, and these young kids have really done great. Miss Matheny, Tiffany Matheny, has done great with them. But their most recent competition was in Bentonville with 31 teams and a lot more experienced teams, and they placed 5th. And we were real proud of them for that. And one of their competitions won Sportsmanship Award as well. So real proud of the robotics team. We may have to get them up here and let them do a demo at one of these meetings in the future when we're able. Also wanted to mention, and I gave you a couple of pictures there, of our ALE, that's the Alternative Learning Environment. And we started working on this really 2 years ago, and then last year formally writing and submitting the plan by March. And this is probably one of the best professional growth things I've ever been involved in myself, was the act of writing the plan, visiting some other schools, looking at their alternative learning environments. learning from them, learning from some book studies we did as a staff, to find out the kinds of things that will help students that need the social emotional pieces to be successful in school. And we began the school year with 2 students, and now we're up to 6. And very strategic about which students we place in that program. And it's just been very gratifying to watch those kids' growth. The 2 that began the year now, at this point in the school year, they're spending the majority of their time in the regular classroom, and then they have that alternative learning environment available to them just as needed. A little tune-up, get back in there and keep working and doing great. So I'm looking forward to, in about 20 years, meeting some kids that have graduated from Alma High School and are doing well in their career. It won't be 20 years. How about 8 or 10 years? From 5th grade, it shouldn't take me 7 to graduate. So, but it is fun to watch that success, and I think they're being set up for success. I also shared the class pledge. I was real impressed in observing the class, the ALE, that students lead in this class pledge. There was one little girl told me today, she said, I've got the first paragraph memorized now and I'm working on the second one. So she's definitely trying to internalize that. And as they shared that, I got to thinking, I'm going to get a copy of this class pledge for myself, because just good solid advice for anybody there. And so I wanted to also mention Meredith Brown is our teacher in that classroom, and she was a 3rd grade teacher, outstanding 3rd grade teacher. When I put the word out that we were looking for people that might be willing to take on the ALE last year, she came to me and I said, oh, I don't know. Let me think on that. She came to me a second time. I said, oh, I don't know. Let me think on that. And the reason I said, oh, I don't know, is because she was so outstanding in 3rd grade. You hate to sacrifice that. She came to me a 3rd time, and I said, you got it. And she took the ball and ran with it, and has made it an excellent program. We got a call from Siloam Springs, and they said, we heard what an excellent elementary ALE program you have. And I said, nobody knows about our ALE program. It's just started this year. We want to come visit. And I said, as long as you keep in mind it's the first year. So we had 6 people from Siloam Springs today picking the teacher and the kids' brain. And it was a tremendous experience for us to have distinguished guests like that on campus. So we're real proud of the program and what they're doing.
Thank you. Mr. Wolf?
Apparently it's award season, so I've got several shout outs to some of our students and teachers. Recently received some pretty awesome awards. The local VFW, Robert Jack, Post 1322 in Van Buren, host an essay contest. And our 8th grade student, Olivia Bradshaw, placed 1st place in their Patriots Pen essay, and went on to the district competition and placed 2nd place there. So we're very proud of her. And they also do a Citizenship Education Teacher Award. And one of our teachers was nominated by her professor from UA Fort Smith. She, former military experience. Does a great job, and she won 1st place at the local and also won 1st place at the district, is up for state. And if she wins that, she'll be up for the national competition. So we'll hopefully come back and tell you some more about that next month. So very proud of them, and really appreciate the VFW for sponsoring those great programs. At our annual Geography Bee, January 31st, congratulations to our 2nd place winner, Kyle Bowen, and our 1st place winner, Landon Coursey. Both 7th graders, so looking forward to them continuing on, maybe come back next year. And Landon's already put in his submission for the state competition, so we're hopeful he'll get a place at that as well. And our 7th and 8th Quiz Bowl team competed in the regional tournament January 17th up in Harrison, and they placed 3rd. It's qualified them for the state tournament, so this Saturday they'll be going down to Pine Bluff, Watson Chapel School, and competing in the state Quiz Bowl tournament. And we gave our 2nd quarter perfect attendance recognition a couple weeks ago after our pep rally. We've been really pushing for attendance at school. Attendance matters. And so we recognized all those kids who had 2nd quarter perfect attendance and drew some names out and got them some Sonic cards. And then a couple days later, we read off all the names of the kids who had perfect attendance for 1st semester and drew out some names, and 3 of them got bronze cards. So glad to recognize those. And we also did our teachers from 2nd semester, because teachers need to be there as well and set a good example, and we think attendance is really important, and we're really trying to make a big impact on having kids in school. And then last week, we celebrated the Kindness Week, sponsored by Student Council. Had a lot of great activities, and kids were encouraged all kinds of ways to show kindness throughout the building. It was a really good activity.
Ms. Wood?
Yes. So for the high school, I want to go back and visit the national dance competition first. They were very modest in sharing today, but those kids are amazing. They really are. There were 600 teams in attendance at the competition, and 89 of those made finals. Our team made finals in a large varsity hip hop, and they placed 14th overall in that competition. And they mentioned that Alma was the first team in history to compete that had brought 6 male dancers with them to the competition, so in both jazz and hip hop, so that's pretty neat, I thought. We also this week had kicked off our Great Kindness Challenges. The first year we've done that at the high school, and we gave each student a pledge card. And so it has like random acts of kindness that they could do throughout the day, and then they get initials on it. They've done these things, and so it just gives them ideas of ways they can show kindness to each other. And then something that they've not done at the high school before was each day we had a dress-up day for ways that they could show kindness, and the kids have really, really loved that. So the kids have. It's been neat at lunchtime in the union to watch them with their yellow sheet. To kind of watch them mix with different kids that they haven't in the past. So it's been really, really good for the atmosphere in the union especially. Along with that, we sent out a message through Blackboard to all our parents, all our students, all our faculty about a new Stop It app that Robin had researched that where students are able to put it on their phones. And we did that through our CAPS conferences with the students where they go on Wednesdays. And there's a code that they can use, and they can anonymously report things to the administration, like bullying, cyberbullying, anything that would be harmful. A way for, especially high school students, don't like to come in and be seen reporting things like that. So it's just a good way for them to be able to share and come straight to our phones, and we can address things anonymously. So that's a really good thing. Mr. Kirkendall this evening is with Cheer, and they are at Nationals tonight. They left yesterday to go to Orlando with the school cheerleading competition, and there'll be over 1,000 teams in attendance for that, and they'll be competing in the game day division, and hopefully will bring home their second national title.
That brings us to the consent agenda. Has everybody had time to review that?
I think this would be an appropriate time to take note of Jim Warnock being on this list, retiring as intermediate school principal. Jim, come up here a minute.
I did happen to have a sermon.
I knew you would. Jim, I'm going to have to embarrass myself and ask, how many years have you been here?
This is my 19th year.
I'll not forget the night that Jim was at El Dorado, and I really had principal at Yoakum. He was not expecting to hear from somebody in Alma, Arkansas, and I just really kind of called him up out of the blue, and we talked for quite a long time. And I convinced him that he ought to at least come up and talk to us, so he did, and we offered him the position, and obviously he said yes. Jim's done an outstanding job. It's with great mixed feelings that we see, for me, that he's decided this is enough. How many years total in education?
Oh, 38, 37.
You in this day and time, find people that of high quality that take a job, and in case you hadn't figured it out, being a principal of a school at any level is not the easiest thing in the world to do. It's long hours. You get to talk to people that sometimes don't agree with some of your decisions. Shepherding 800 youngsters and 50 staff members is a daily challenge. And Jim's done a great job of it. We're going to miss him. I hope we don't miss him too much, because I hope he's going to be around a lot. But Jim, we'll do this some more this spring, undoubtedly. But thanks for being here. Thanks for your work.
I am going to mention just four quick things, because I was thinking about changes over 19 years that you observed, and you get to know a district pretty well. If you find out, is this a really good district? You learn that, and this is just an outstanding district. But I look at the changes, and you would expect there to be changes in technology because of the passing of time. But in Alma, it's an accelerated change in technology. gone above and beyond, and that's been fun to watch. There's a real focus on achievement. I've seen that increase over time. Student achievement, which is awesome. And there's such a huge focus on teacher development and growth, expertise. It's so fun to watch your teachers and see how in-depth they get with their craft of teaching, and that's just really, really exciting to watch. And with a background in music, I've thoroughly enjoyed being a part of a school district that appreciates and supports arts in all its forms. There are a lot of districts out there that are what I call either-or districts. They're either really good at academics, but they leave everything out, you know. And that's an either-or district. But to me, Alma's both and. They're really good at academics, but they also appreciate and give kids the chance to thrive in all kinds of arts areas. And that kept me engaged in school when I was a kid. The engagement in music really supported my learning. So I know I get to see that in our kids all the time. So I appreciate what the school board does to make all of those kinds of things happen. I mentioned shepherding 720, 800 kids from year to year. The ability to hire really good teachers makes a principal want to stay here too. So the fact that we're able to attract and get good teachers makes my job a lot more fun. So I just look back and think I've thoroughly enjoyed being here. And I appreciate y'all for the honor of getting to be here. Great.
Thank you, Jim.
Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, any discussion with that? All in favor with the right hand vote? Any opposed? Carries. Superintendent's report?
Just a couple of things I want to mention to you that I think are of interest. One of the principals mentioned it. You all may remember a year ago this time, I had been asked to serve on the search committee for the University of Arkansas Fort Smith Chancellor's position. I was actually the only non-university person involved in that. I think that happened because I have an acquaintance with the university system president, Don Bobbitt, and he asked me to do that, and it was a very interesting experience, quite busy experience. Right after Christmas, I got an email from the new chancellor, Dr. Teresa Riley, asking if she could come visit, spend some time in our schools. Now, I'm sure she plans to do this in as many school districts as she can, as quickly as she can in our area, but ours was her first visit. I'm sure partly because she and I already knew each other from the search. But she spent about 4 hours here that day, along with one of her deans, Dr. Ken Warden. We went in all the schools. We talked for quite a while. Her focus, of course, is they want our kids to come to school there. I understand that. That's what they're all about. But we talked about all that. But specifically, we met with the counselors at the high school both ways. What are the things that UAFS is doing to help us and help our students, and what are the things they're not doing that we wish they would do? So they had a really good conversation about that, and I was very pleased that Dr. Riley came. I don't know that I have a whole lot more to say about cheer and dance. This is a busy 2 weeks at the high school just because of all that happening. A lot of energy, a lot of stirring, is that a word? I don't know how many of you had signed up and watched it on the internet, but I did, and it was certainly fun to watch their performance. I didn't watch every dance in that division, but I did watch most of them online that Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon. I thought we competed very well. I was very pleased. Could not have been happier. I thought they did a great job. And there's no doubt that Cheer's going to do the same thing. If you want to, you can go to varsity.com, and it's not a very expensive fee. It's just a few dollars, and it gets you all that competition, all of it you want to watch, of the whole thing, starting, I guess, tomorrow.
8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
So just Google, if you're interested, just Google varsity.com, and you'll see how to do that. it's been quite, it's quite an experience for both those groups to go, particularly the same year, a week apart. And, you know, as one of them said, it truly is a life-changing experience. I went myself 3 years ago, I guess, with dance. And, you know, one of the most fun things about it for people like myself is seeing our students in that setting, seeing how mature they are, how well they do everything from walking out the door to meeting their responsibilities to their performance. And just know that that's the kind of adults that they're going to become, and that they got that right here from us. So that's very gratifying to go see that. One last thing, Richard Abernathy has been the executive director of the Arkansas Association of Educational Administrators for about a dozen years. Now, some of you may remember Richard from your time in school or from elsewise. He started his teaching career right here as a math teacher. He was here for 2 or 3 years, and then was in several different administrative positions around the state. He's announced his retirement as of next December. That's a big loss to us, particularly with the legislature. It's almost kind of become a joke in a way. Anytime any education matter is being considered by the legislature, which is a lot of the time, it's just routine for that legislator to say, well, what does Dr. Abernathy think? He's got such great credibility with the General Assembly. He's got some big shoes to fill. There were several people, superintendents, 5 I think, superintendents from around the state that have applied for the position. That it's filled by the association's board, who is our elected board members that the membership elects. They've started looking at that, and I think they will probably, Richard would like for the person to start to work in July and work with him for the last 6 months that he's there, which I'm sure that's what will happen. It's as important a position to Arkansas education as there is, because Richard has had such great rapport with the legislature. That's where it all starts and stops, whether you're talking about rules and regs or funding, is that, and he's going to be missed at the very best. But you know, I understand that time comes, and he's going fishing literally.
That would bring us to old business, and I think we're gonna take up number 2 first, correct? Or
It's up to
no.
you. Doesn't matter to me.
Okay, I thought, let's do food service.
Okay.
Let's discuss the outsourcing, and then you'll go first, and then I'm
Okay.
gonna hit these public comments.
The information that's in your packet is the request for proposal, and we talked about this a little bit last time. This form is mandated by the state. This is the only way we can do it. And as you see, it's pretty prescriptive. There's not a lot of flexibility to it. I filled that out, I sent it to the state for them to, well, I guess you would say approve. Be sure that it's read right, that it hadn't made any mistakes or any conflicts or anything, which we did, and have it back. Now, the state does not deal with it. All they were doing was saying that we had filled out the form correctly. So, here it is. It has not been sent out yet. We'll do that in the next few days. Again, this is a state rule. It has to be available for people to respond to for 60 days. Again, that's in their rules. So that puts it in early April as the date for it being returned to us. There are 8 companies in this line of work that are authorized by the Department of Education to do this in Arkansas. Only 4 of them presently have contracts with any Arkansas schools. I don't have any idea how many responses we'll get. We could get 8, we could get 1. No way of knowing. I would expect we would hear from at least the 4 that are already doing business in Arkansas. Let me emphasize again, as I said last month, sending out this RFP commits us to nothing. Nothing. All this is another way for us to get information about what each company would offer us and how they would propose to work for us. It's not any different than asking any other company in any other business, how will you do this, what will you sell us, that sort of thing. after that deadline in April, that will be the time for us to consider their proposals, to get all our questions answered, the questions you all have for us, the questions that all of us may have for the companies, all of that sort of thing. It will be at that time to decide whether or not we want to do this at all. Because it may be your decision, our decision, that this is not something that's in Alma School District's best interest. I don't want anybody thinking that this is already decided. It absolutely is not. I have lots of questions as to whether it's the right thing to do or not, but the only way to get those questions answered is to ask the questions, and that's what we're doing here. We will certainly, when we get the proposals back, we will talk to other schools that have a relationship or have the companies that give us proposals. We'll visit with those schools. We'll go visit those schools. We'll go to those schools, see how it looks to us, get our questions answered, that sort of thing. Schools do this many different ways. The little bit of conversation that I've had with a couple of the companies, they state repeatedly, we do what the school wants done. We don't have a one-size-fits-all, and every school we work with does it somewhat differently. It's not a, here's how you do it, if you want to do business with us, here's what it is. They do it however we want it done. And they all emphasize that very strongly. I know there's some concern on the part of our food service staff as to what this would look like for them. I understand that, all of us, it's just human nature, we're all nervous about change, any kind of change in our lives. I know that. We all are that way. As I told you last month, I went around and met with them before the January board meeting, and I want to say again what I said to them that day. Their employment status, their employment situation, whatever term you want to use, will not change. Again, companies do it however the school district wants to do it. And what we want to do is keep our staff exactly like they are, working the same way, working for Alma School District, with all of their benefits, with all of their insurances, with their retirement, with their schedule, with their pay, with everything exactly like it is today. I don't know how much more strongly I can say that. It's not going to change. Now, in time, obviously some of our staff will move on, take other jobs, retire, whatever, and we'll replace them. But that will be their choice. Nothing about any arrangement we have with one of these companies will require them to quit, require them to work for a different salary, require them to drop their insurance. That's not going to happen. I don't know any more strongly way I can say that other than to absolutely say that will not happen. I wouldn't have it any other way. I think our track record of doing what's in the best interest of our employees, all of our employees, is pretty strong. I don't think anybody can point to a time in the history of this school district, at least in the last 40 years or so, that we've done it any other way, that we've ever said to an employee, you got to do something different. We were talking about this today, and we're just thinking, okay, what will change if we do this? And the biggest change we can think of is they may have different menus to prepare. They may be preparing dishes with differently, using a different menu than they are today, because the company may have a menu that's better. That's what, honestly, I think might be the biggest change. That being true is also one of the reasons that I question myself whether or not this is something that really is that beneficial to us. If that's really all that it's going to be is some menu changes, and unless we can see that that's really a huge deal, then that brings up the question, why do it? And that's a question that we're certainly going to ask. There are, of course, some financial considerations for the district to consider as to whether or not we do this, whether or not it's in our best interests. But again, let me say this one more time, and then I guess I'll stop. we're not gonna do anything. We're not gonna do anything that is not in the best interest of our employees. We're not gonna do that, now or ever. And in this case, that means them continuing to be Alma School District employees exactly like they are today. I would suggest that we wait until we get the RFPs back, or the proposals back, to start digging into the nuts and bolts of, well, how does this work or how does that work? Because I don't know that I can answer those questions until we do get the proposals back with very much knowledge. But we'll certainly have plenty of time to do that before we make a decision. But I'd certainly be happy to entertain any questions you do have right now.
How's your feedback been from food service? Has anybody talked to you?
Nobody's talked to me at all about it, no.
What is the reason? I mean, should we not follow chain of command? Just like we require our teachers to follow chain of command, we require our patrons to follow chain of command to respond to either their supervisor, and then if not satisfied there, to come to you.
That would be the proper thing, yes. But as I said, I'm in and around our schools a lot, and I'm not necessarily in every kitchen every day, certainly, but nobody's talked to me about it.
Okay.
Say this comes up, most likely wouldn't be dealt with until the May meeting.
That's correct. I don't see any way in the world we would be ready to, we might discuss it at the April meeting and answer questions, or figure out what our questions are, decide if we want to invite one of the companies or two of the companies to come meet with us. But there's no way we would be ready to make a decision at the April meeting.
Where we stand with that is if it most likely won't be dealt with until the May meeting. If we decide it's in the best interest to keep what we've got and not move forward with this, are we at all behind on replacing the food service?
No, I don't think so
director?
at all. I don't think so at all.
For that, is that something that we can continue doing or explore? Maybe post the job or whatever necessary in the time being.
Sure.
Just so we're make sure that.
Just to answer your question, of course, Debbie has not made any secret that she's retiring, so the word is out, if you will. And I've gotten some calls, and some inquiries might be the better word about the position, which is fine. In fact, I actually have a couple of applications. So,
okay. I mean, I would definitely think we need to stay ahead of that. Because
I agree.
The chances there, I mean, just to be blunt and truthful, when you say, why do this at all, the only change would be a menu, you're reading my mind. Because feedback I've received, and I've read through this entire proposal, I'm not leaning in that direction.
it's one of those things, you don't know what you don't know until you ask.
And I agree with that 100%. I really do.
If you don't explore it, you never know whether it was a good idea or not.
I certainly agree with that. I will say that the pride I've seen people we have in their positions has really amazed me. And I hate to see that get destroyed over the next 3 months, only to come here in May and decide to keep what we have, because what we've got is a better solution to this.
This was not a problem in search of a solution. When we started down this road, started thinking about this, the reason for now is because of our director retiring, purely and simply. If we were going to do it, this is an opportune time to do it. That's the reason for now.
No, I agree. I agree with that. I've read through it. There's a lot of stuff in it. A lot of that admittedly, I don't deal with food nutrition every day.
So my question is, if we don't replace her and we go with the outsourcing, who falls under the supervision of the outsourcing contract? Is that Mr. Biggs?
Yes. And
Mr. Biggs, are you up on USDA food regulations?
In terms of meeting all the USDA regs and so on, that's the company. Does this food product meet the standards and so on? That's the company's responsibility.
Oh, I understand that.
The paperwork with the Department of Education is still our responsibility. We would need a clerical person to help with that.
Last year, we had, we were kind of running in the red on food service, and we made some changes. This year, do you feel like we're in a better, we raised prices just a little bit?
I know we're going to be better. Now, until we get to the end of the year, I can't tell you, what that's going to look like. I know we're going to be better.
How's it work? Because you didn't fill about one position at each school. I mean, how's it operations in the kitchens and the cafeterias?
Well, obviously, we didn't have anybody sitting around not doing anything. So obviously, they've been a little bit busier. And if you ask the staff, I'm sure they would tell you that they wish they had that position back. I understand that. But when we looked at comparable size schools and comparable number of meals, which we did, then we felt like this should work.
So when you filled out number 9 on page 5, you checked both boxes.
Let me get there just a minute. On page 5?
Yes, sir. Number 9. It's under
I'm sorry. Yes. The way the state explained this whole document to me, if there's anything that we want to do, or that we might want to do in the future, the box has to be checked.
Okay.
They suggested checking every box. For instance, we checked the box in another place on concessions. We don't have any plan to do that for this company to run our football concession. But if we didn't check the box, that precludes us even considering it. So that's all this means. I didn't want to close any doors.
Are they bidding it on the assumption of hiring employees or
No.
concessions or any?
No.
How is that made to them? How are they clear on that?
But that's the box you checked.
Well, we
Or
checked
still
both
not here?
boxes.
I know.
We checked both.
So they're gonna have both options in their bid.
It's not their option, it's our option. That's our option.
But are they aware that when they bid something,
They will ask that question if they have any question about it.
so it's on them to?
Yeah, and if necessary, we'll put that in writing to them, as an addendum.
Because I'd ask you about the concessions, and
Yeah.
that was one thing there.
Yeah.
For things like fundraising or booster club
Yeah.
events,
Yeah,
things like that, that won't change.
that won't change.
For the, because that is not food service staff or anything. That would
That's
be
correct.
clubs and teachers that run that.
I talked with one school that does that, and that school, the company's only role in that is ordering the food. It's still run by a sponsor and staffed by parents. Now, by the food service company ordering the food, they're buying food cheaper, which benefits the concession.
Mhm.
What are some of the closest schools in our area that are doing this? I know Russellville.
Russellville does, north of us, Bentonville does. Quite honestly, there's not any right here in the River Valley that do. Russellville's the closest one.
Have you been in the last month to visit anybody or?
Been to one.
Have you any feedback on?
We had a good visit, came away with a lot of questions. Some of them answered, some of them not. And obviously, visiting more will be important.
Mhm.
So obviously we've heard, from a lot of, obviously, employees from the district, and also this, was in the newspaper, and I received a lot of unsolicited feedback from folks within the community, and even explaining the, potential for significant cost savings. It's just the overwhelming majority of the people I spoke with, I don't think this community is ready for something like this at this time.
Yeah, let me say again, unless it's gonna make things better for us, why would we do it? And this is just a way to look to see is this something that would make us better? If it's not, it's not. If it is, then we should think about it. But we don't know until we ask, until we look at it.
I agree with you. I just hate to see us go through 3 months and it'd be at the end of the school year. That's my only concern, is what I've seen in the last 30 days, compounded again and again and again. I just don't want staff to get to leave and we end up worse off June 1st with a new director coming in if we keep things how they are. That's my only concern today, looking at this, based on what I've seen and read and the feedback I've heard as well from the community.
Well, as I said a few minutes ago, the RFP has not gone out.
Personally, I'd move to suspend the RFP and let's move forward with hiring a replacement firm.
I don't have any objection to that, if that's the board's decision.
I'd second
Is that
that.
y'all are saying
Yes.
I will and I wish. Is it an actual?
Yes, I move to suspend the RFP.
Yes, Mr. Attorney.
Sorry, that's part of your job.
So we have a motion to suspend the RFP and you've seconded it. So let's have some discussion. I know we've been discussing, but in this, I may take the public comment. Public comment. I look to Mr. Brister because he knows he's Robert's Rules of Order.
I got one question to Mr. Willie on that. So on page 13, my concern with it was the bid part of that, how did they explain that to you? Because I know I understand we think we're just requesting proposals, but then it talks about opening bids, and then in big bold print, it's got school districts got the right to reject any and all bids for a sound documented reason. And so that I found that a little bit troubling. So I didn't know how the state explained that part to you.
Didn't mention, it wasn't discussed.
Okay.
You know, as you know, and we're just in general law, we're not bound to ever accept a bid. We can always reject all bids.
Right, but under Arkansas law, you can reject them for basically any reason.
Yeah.
But that said, sound documented reason, that made me a little nervous.
Wasn't discussed.
Is there any more just specific questions? I'm gonna we have 4 public comments that are directly tied to this, and so let's take those up now. Our policy on public comments is you're gonna get 5 minutes, and I'm going to time you. And you cannot mention any specific names of personnel or students. And when I say time's up, you'll just have to kind of finish your closing remarks and stop there. So, Jan Burcham, we have you up first.
Hi, I'm Jan Burcham, work at the Alma Middle School, and I'm going to talk about outsource. I haven't been outsourced once, but twice. And the first one, I started out at West Star College in 2001. I spent 7 years there, and then we were outsourced in 2008 to Sodexo. And we were there 5 years with them, and they were outbid or underbid by Airmark. And we lost a lot, because from then, I didn't get any retirement. It stopped until I quit. And I thought I'd retire there. This would be in a couple of years, this year would be my 20 years. And I thought I'd get to stay there, but it didn't happen. So I quit. I needed to change, so I came here. I love this job. I love these people. These are my sisters. And we work hard. We're short-handed, but we work hard and we get it done for these kids. They're our babies. And I brought some papers with me that I'm going to leave, but I thought that I would get to retire. But I decided it's not worth it if it becomes a company and a business. And that's what it stayed, a business, the money. And that's what it became. It changed. It changed us. We weren't close anymore. The uniforms changed, the shoes changed, everything changed. The hours changed, the days changed. But I love Alma. I love my kids here. My 3 kids went to school here. But I'm going to leave these here to show papers for y'all that my checks were signed by Sodexo. I brought them with me, and my checks were also signed on the payroll of Airmark. And I brought them with me to show y'all that that's who paid me, not the school, but they did. And I'm retiring, so I just now got my retirement stuff, but I drew from 2001 when I started to 2008, and it stopped. And that's what I'm going to draw. But then I'll draw 2.5 more years, within 3 years when I retire. And I'm not leaving these friends. I'm not leaving my sisters till May, because I'm going to stay here and help them till I'm done. But I'm done. And I just wanted to pass these out. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Jan. I have next Coventry Baker.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Baker. I am in my 7th year of working for Alma School District.
I had 8.
I work at the Alma Middle School cafeteria. I want to speak about the possible outsourcing with you this evening. I would like to start with by telling you about my previous experience with outsourcing. My husband has had his previous job outsourced twice. He was told until the very end everything would stay the same, not to worry, everything's fine. He would keep his job. In reality, when the end came, he suffered job loss on both times. I also have a coworker who went through it, whom you just heard from, and it forced her to no longer be employed by the school. She didn't, the company chose to switch her over, and then she chose not to work for them any longer because she lost some of her benefits. Outsourcing hurt our family, and it made for a great financial struggle for us for a while. It will do the same for all of my fellow cafeteria employees. We all depend on our job and our benefits. I have a daughter who attends Alma High School. I understand this outsourced company will offer the kids a lot of extras. For most of us as parents, the lunches here are enough to afford without all the extras. If my daughter is sitting at a lunch table and she's surrounded by kids that have all these extras, but she has not, she's going to feel left out. And I believe offering all of this is really not fair to the kids that cannot afford it. Currently at our schools, we offer extras. We only offer a small handful. But the outsourced company, from what I understand, they would have a large selection. Alma is a tight-knit community, as you all know. We as lunch ladies take care of these kids as our own. If they're having a good day, we're there. If they're having a bad day, we're there. It feels amazing to be out in public, Walmart. These kids, you run into them, they run up to their parents, introduce you. This is my lunch lady, this is my lunch lady. It's great. Even after these kids graduate, they still stop, they still talk. Those are my lunch ladies. Those are examples of the personal relationships that develop. A management company will only be here to provide a service, not to be a member of the Airedale family. I urge you to ask the parents in our community about their kids' relationships with the lunch ladies. Ask them. We have been thanked repeatedly for taking care of people's babies. I know several of y'all have babies in Alma School District right now. And I know that you guys would want that kind of loving care for your children. If there is an outside company, your children could be dealing with strangers. They could have a high turnover. I have heard a lot of horror stories about children's lunch accounts being delinquent, and the child's food is thrown away or they're offered a sandwich because they could not pay their bill. This is extremely humiliating to a child. It's not that child's fault. Alma School District does not do this. We ensure every child has a tray of food just like everybody else. And one way this is possible is because our community pulls together and helps pay off these delinquent lunch accounts. I believe with an outsourced company, none of that will be possible. As they say, it takes a village to raise a child. We are honored to be a part of that village, and it is our sincere desire to continue to be a part of that village. Thank you.
Teresa Rainwater.
All right. I'm Teresa. I work at the intermediate school. I'm the manager there. We've done a little bit of research over these different ones, not just one, but several of these outsourced companies. I've got some papers here I'd like to hand out to every one of y'all here in a little bit. Let y'all look at those over. There's lawsuits in there against one of them for $19 million. They treat their employees bad. They take and they talk to you bad. All this is in here. We've got a I've got documents that I'm gonna get every one of y'all to see. Now, where we're supposed to be, this paid through Alman, I don't see how that's gonna happen because we're in the red now. I don't see how they come in here and do that. That's something that we're all concerned about. Mr. Woolley says that it's gonna be that way. We wanna know if we can get that on legal documents that we would remain an employee if you do decide to outsource. We've got a manager here, I'm not gonna mention no names, but we work for our benefits. We have time, the insurance and everything. Time they hold that out, her check, she brings home $570 a month. We do not get rich working here. We work here because we love to, we want to do it for the kids, and we've got benefits. We didn't go to college, we don't have that degree that you can go get someplace that can offer you retirement. Every one of us are here for that reason. That's part of our reason. Okay, and as far as, if you put us out, you also put other people out. Like our vendors are like Harps, we buy from them, we buy from Tankersley, Arnold's Farms. We have them, not only if you bring this company in, they're going to take all that, bring their people, their low groceries in from elsewhere. They're not gonna have them come through our local vendors. So not only are we out, so is some of our community. We have an FAA program. If you decide you want, you could also take that and have them to grow some of our vegetables and our fruit, and then the school buy from them. That's something that would help them have a fundraiser, you know. Let them build it, and we could pay them for furnishing it to us. In this, I put in a menu from my school. I change menus. The kids do not like some things. I change it to some of the things that they do like. We've got phone numbers in there. Every one of us will talk to you at any time. If you're willing, ask us questions, whatever you need to do. I'm going to talk just a minute on the breakfast program. I know the breakfast program, we give that for free. My thing with that is we start out the year, I figured it up, and it's about $600,000 in the hole just to start off with, because we give it free all year long. I completely understand it. I do the bookmobile. I love to feed these kids. I know some of them really need it, but we need to figure out some way to kind of, I don't know. We need to figure out how to get that to go down. I know these kids need it, but that's what really gets us at the beginning of the year. And these kids are our babies. We dress up at our school. We decorate. We dance with them. We sing with them. We do all kinds of things with these kids. And like they said, when we go out and we in public, they're there. They give us hugs. At my school, they call me Mama T. That's just what they call me. I had one of the ladies there. That's what she called me, and now that's what a lot of these kids call me. It's not, hey, Miss Rainwater or Teresa or whatever. It's Mama T. That's what it is at my school. I don't know, my ladies, I love them all to death. We don't want to be outsourced. We want y'all to vote no to this. I mean, we do not want to lose our jobs and have somebody come in here and treat us bad. And we're still supposedly working for the Alma School District, but we just don't understand how that's going to be. You're going to be able to do that if you're not making any money coming in. I mean, you have no money coming in for the school. From the lunches, how are we going to get paid? We don't understand. There's some questions in there too we'd like answers to. So, I mean, if somebody could answer some of them for us. There is some questions in this little thing I'm fixing to hand out. I guess that's about it.
Thank you. Marissa Carter.
I'm on my 11th year at the intermediate school, And I think that all of you understand that while we're concerned about our employment, why it's important to us. We have families to support, we have bills to pay, we have futures to look forward to. And we've done a lot of research on these outsourcing companies, and what we found is the cons far more outweigh the pros of these companies. And we just don't feel like this would be the best for our school district. And I don't think that our kids will like this food as much as they do our homemade, made from scratch recipes that we've had for years. And I want to speak to you not only as an employee, but as a paying parent. I have 2 at the high school. They are boys. You know how teenage boys eat. I do not allow them to eat extras except for on Fridays because I just can't afford it. And from what I've learned from the research on these outsourcing companies, their food is higher than what we have right now. So I'm like Ms. Baker said, my kids are going to be sitting over here watching all of these other kids have extras, and it's not going to be fair to them. And what are the free and reduced kids going to get to eat? Are they going to be segregated away from the other ones that can afford this? And that's all I have.
Thank you. We're still in the discussion of that. Is anybody, and they're not signed up, is anybody here to speak in favor of this? Anybody have any questions, or, I mean, did you get this packet, Mr. Woolley?
Yes.
I will say one thing is, the letters I got, and there were a bunch of them. And one of them, somebody said something about not going to college. But in reading your letters, the printing of it and the cursive writing, all is beautiful. I said, I even showed it to my wife, said that, you know, that they think they're nothing but cooks. They're more than cooks. They're more than a lot of things. But to write as well as you all did, and to put it in the way it was written, and you can read through them and see how you felt. They were beautiful. I appreciate it.
I would echo that as well, and I was just blown away by the pride each one of you have in your job in this position. It's not as glamorous as you might want it to be. It's work. I mean, you're there every day, and to be there, and for so many of you to be there for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, I was truly blown away by that, and I just don't want to see that loyalty and pride destroyed over 3 more months, and then we end up keeping what we've got, and people go and find other jobs. That would be my comment on that as well.
That's, in reading one of the letters, I was trying to find it, said, you know, something that, you know, so many look at us as the heartbeat of these schools, and I agree. I mean, so many people I try to eat at the schools a lot, and there's so many faces from when I graduated, and I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but that was a long time ago. And I did not think of it like Chapin has said, but, you know, I don't have much information. I don't think Mr. Woolley does, but I do worry that just the not knowing for y'all is going to cause a lot of stress over the next few months, and that's just stress I can see it on y'all's faces. I really can. Every one of y'all's, you know.
I just hate to see the experience that we have go through this, and if you do, I understand where you find a job like this with the benefits you've got. I hate to see anybody leave in the meantime, only to find out June 1st that nothing changed. To me, that's my biggest hesitation.
We all feel like family. I mean, as an Alma School employee, I've worked at other places, and it feels like family. I mean, you get to know everybody at ball games, you know. all kinds of school events, you see each other, and when you've been here as long as we have, or some of us have, you know everybody and you feel like family, and if something happens to one of you, your building pulls together and helps each other out.
So, what's the motion we have on the floor?
Motion would be to suspend the RFP process for outsourcing food service.
What did we do last, and we're discussing that, what did we do last meeting we approved to have the
There-
process?
there was no vote.
Okay, we did not vote on that.
We just discussed it.
And I'll tell you that, I confirmed that Russellville, they went with Aramark, and they did elect to have all their employees move, and I know you can handle it either way. They did elect to let the Aramark hire all the employees. They all had to re-interview and be hired by Aramark, and I think their food manager did not get offered the job. And I know we could do it different, but Russellville was running really in the red. I have somebody in the administration there that I can ask a couple questions to. And so they did improve the bottom line. But it's not always about dollars.
Is there a question, is there a motion, anything on the floor?
Yeah, you got a motion and a second. We're in
So there's a
discussion.
motion and a second.
What's the motion second for?
So the RFP that has to be sent to the state to even get this process.
That's been done.
Okay, but
It's ready to go out if we choose to do so.
yes, and then from that, there will be bids. And so if we move tonight, I guess he would notify the state that we suspend
we
or
don't
we
have
have
to
to
do
do anything.
anything.
We would just, it's been
We
sent.
just stop the
We
process.
just stop. I mean, if at a later date, we chose to bring it back up,
Would this process have to be, does this process have to be done again if we decide at a later time?
What process is
This, to the state?
Well, probably
Or is
so,
it
but that's simple.
carry-
That's no big
okay.
deal.
for us right now, and these people have dedicated, I don't feel like it's right for us.
It's not the right time.
That's right,
And it
Tom.
may, maybe, so I say, is anybody, any discussion left on it? Let's all in favor of suspending the RFP, you'd vote yes with the right hand vote. Any opposed? That would be carried. We have one more public comment, and I'm so sorry. Mr. Wilson, come up here.
No, I'm gonna yield my time. I don't wanna take it away from what these ladies have done, or what the
No,
board
you've
has
got
done
5
tonight.
minutes, and we're moving
No,
fast.
I'm not gonna, mind in the way. I'm
Well, and
really
I
happy
think
that-
we're done with that, so you've got the floor for 5 minutes.
No, I'm gonna yield my time to them.
Okay.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, where did that put us? So,
I assume Mr. Wheeler will start looking for someone for the place.
Yes, sir.
and that's the thing we always say about our school district, is we will try things, and if it's not right for us right then, we stop it, and so I'm thankful you even brought that up. We brought it up too. I mean, that just shows we saw these places at the school board meetings, and,
Well, let me just say, I want everybody in the room to know, I'm not unhappy with this vote. Now, that's why you're sitting around here with the ability to raise your hand. I will say that the school board at times has voted something that maybe I didn't agree with, but this is not one of those
never.
times. Okay?
Thank you, and let's get, I guess, the listing and for the posting of the job
Yep.
and get that started. Okay, solar energy.
We talked about this a little bit in December. This MOU, I've got more information since then. This MOU, and again, nothing has been done with this. This is just for your information. I'm not asking you to do anything tonight either. The State Energy Office, part of state government, as the State Energy Office, they have a program where if any public entity, a school, a city, a county, a university, any public entity at their choice can choose to contract with the Arkansas Energy Office to administer this procedure. The procedure of selecting a company or deciding if this is something that the school, the city, should do. That's what this MOU would be, is having a memorandum of understanding with the Arkansas Energy Office for them to assist us in this process. If we were to go forward with a solar farm, I think this would be in our best interest to have these people who have great expertise at this to help us. I'm not asking you to make a decision about that tonight. I just wanted to give you this MOU for you to review and think about, and we'll talk about that at a future date.
Along those lines, I've talked to the school district, and this kind of came up because the city did theirs as well. And, you know, they signed a contract, they're moving forward with the project, or at least the beginning phases to make sure it's feasible. But anyway, in talking to somebody else in the school district, when those companies approached them, what they did is picked up the phone and called their power company, and they actually signed with their rural co-op to buy solar from the co-op at basically the same price that this company was going to do the rate in the solar farm without all the potential risk of the company going bankrupt and abandoning the solar farm. So,
let me give you a little more detail about that. Of course, as you know, all of our facilities are OG&E, with the exception of the intermediate school, which is Arkansas Valley Electric Rural Co-op. In researching this and looking at what we currently pay the utilities, the two solar companies that I have had some tentative conversations with, when they saw the rate we pay Arkansas Valley, they said, forget us, we can't touch that.
well, the school district I talked to was the same deal, and
Yeah.
then they talked to their electric co-op, and they got a even lower
Even
rate
better,
for some power, and of course, our co-op's got the solar farm, you know, on Highway 59.
Yeah.
So I would say,
Yeah.
I know Mr. Biggs contacts them and negotiates a better electric price.
The other thing,
We've taken the USDA off your back. So let's go to the electric company.
the other thing I've learned recently about all this is the Public Service Commission. Of course, electric rates are controlled by the Public Service Commission. A utility can't just say, we want to charge company XYZ so much for electricity. They have to get their rates approved by the Public Service Commission. The Public Service Commission has a rate case in front of them right now, brought by Entergy and OG&E, and it makes sense. If a lot of people put in big solar farms, they're not going to be paying their bill to OG&E and Entergy. They're not going to be doing that. So those big electric utilities, revenue goes down. But they still have to maintain, they're going to generate less electricity, they're going to burn less coal, yes, but they still have to maintain all of the lines, the poles, all that. That doesn't change. So they're concerned about their revenue and their bottom line, as they should be. So they have a rate case pending as to how that's going to be addressed. And I don't know this officially, but from what I've been told, there's two ways to do it. Raise everybody's rates to give the utilities more money, or put a surcharge on the solar production. Well, if they raised everybody's rates, that would be good for someone like the school district, because our rate would go up too, except we're getting it from solar, so the difference, the savings would be even better. But if they put a surcharge on the solar companies, that would be bad for us. That would be bad for the solar relationship. So I think it's in our best interest to wait at least until that's settled as to what Public Service Commission decides on that rate case. And my understanding, again, I don't know this officially, is that that's going to be in late March. There's no rush at all on doing this. We can do this anytime at all. So, again, I put this in here just for your information. I'm not ready to even think about making a decision on this.
I agree, I'm not ready to rush into anything either.
Is this what the city has passed?
No, the city went on their own with one of the companies.
They went all in on one of the companies.
Just on their own, which you can
Okay,
do.
so they didn't pass this, then go all in with the city. They're
They just
going
did,
with
yeah.
one.
I will tell you too, not that it matters, but our neighboring school district is doing the same process, is my understanding.
Who is that?
Van Buren. I don't know that the board has acted on that, I don't know that, but I know that that's what they're considering doing.
Okay. So just something for us to consider, and then maybe put it on the,
Sometime in the future, maybe not even in the near future.
okay. So the next thing I have, we're going to new business. We've approved to go to executive session on a personnel issue.
Okay.
And so, Ms. Ruth, note the time, it's 7:18. We're gonna go, executive session means we're all gonna leave and go in there. We could be in there for 10 minutes or 2 hours. So, everybody is free to leave, or stay. And then we'll come back and start over. So, we don't have much after this, so. Thank you for hearing us out. Thank you.
gotta stand in it. Okay, let's go. Sorry. Didn't take my medicine while I'm going. I needed to go. Me and Arthur don't like to. I do. No, it's all bad. I said I would next time.
You weren't me, country I started crying so she started.
Just saving it all for today.
Oh, well, she's at the back of the line, holds it up.
The most important one.
Grandbaby's coming up.
We can go up right in, I'm here later, just in this past. I'll be out here in this hallway. Oh, what should have told me? That's the very first thing he said. That disappoints me. It says on everything. For us. We're there.
I was afraid you were gonna jinx us.
Hit that out.
Tell you how that went down.
7:33, Janet. Okay, back to new business. We have. It's quiet in here. Is there chili left?
And cooler.
We got cake.
Why is there not some up there?
Okay, item F.
It's my pleasure to recommend a great group of administrators for the extension of their contract. I won't read the list to you, it's right there for you. It's a privilege for me to work with all of them every day. We are, it's just fun. That's the only way I know to say it, because we all think alike, work alike, know each other professionally as well as personally, and I can't say enough good things about all of them. We would be hard pressed to do better for a group.
I move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor with the right hand vote? Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
We emailed you the audit, but there's a bound copy of it in front of you. I want to call your attention to a couple of things in it. If you will turn to page 29, near the back. Kind of going to work backwards through it a little bit, a couple of things. And this is probably the single most important thing in the whole thing. If you look at the next to bottom paragraph, in our opinion, management assertions that the school district complied with the aforementioned requirements for the year are fairly stated in all material respects. That's basically saying there's nothing wrong. And if you look at the very next page, which is what page 29 is referring to, this is the list of all of the state laws that the auditors have to check to be sure that we're in compliance with. And that's, as you see, that's quite a list of things they have to check. If you will now then turn back to page 27. Same sort of thing. This is a part of their report. At the top, schedule of findings and questioned costs. You see down through that page that it's none, except for the last one is the auditee, meaning the school district, qualified as low risk, and the answer to that is yes. So that's exactly what we wanted to say. And then if you will turn back near the front, page 2. This is a little bit of an interesting thing. We have always, for years and years and years and years and years and longer than that, had what is called a GAAP audit. GAAP stands for Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. The state of Arkansas made all school districts switch to a different type of accounting system. Not accounting system, auditing system this year. You'll see on this page, they're referring to adverse opinion. They, the auditors, were required to put this in here because we changed away from generally accepted accounting principles. That was not our choice. The state required that. Mike, can you discuss that a little bit?
Basically, anything that's not GAAP in an audit, we went to other comprehensive basis of accounting. They're calling it fund accounting. When you switch as an auditor, you're required to disclose that. And we'll have that same type of disclosure every year because we're not going to be doing GAAP financial statements. We're going to be doing fund accounting statements.
Right.
So it's just something we're required to do. So it's kind of silly, to be honest with you, and we hate it, but
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Is this what Miss Martin works with in the summer that she has to get done with this company, or is that?
Well, we have to provide all the information, of course, yes, and then they verify our books. I'm happy with the audit. It's just what we wanted to say. Company does a great job. They're thorough, yet they get in and get out, which we certainly appreciate.
And the thing I noticed, David, I liked that there was no problems with internal control, no material weaknesses there. There was no problem with handling our funds, our either subsidized, whatever from the federal government or the state. All that was done correctly, and they didn't find anything with that at all.
And of course, we didn't expect them to, and certainly hope that they didn't.
Is their rate still reasonable? I know you've been happy with it in the
Yeah,
past.
it hasn't changed since they started with us.
Really?
It hasn't gone up a dime.
I use them for several, they're actually one of the cheapest around. I've shopped it, and they're not bad.
I
Now,
think it
you
said.
know that he has
Maybe.
pancreatic cancer.
Did not know that.
That doesn't mean the firm's gonna go away.
Sure.
He doesn't do this work.
Right.
So,
Mark Lux does our work.
yes, Mark will probably, but yes, he does.
We do not need to approve anything with this, do
You
we?
just need to accept it.
Okay. Motion to accept the audit.
Second.
Any
Oh.
discussion?
Yes, you need first. I'll make that motion. Here we go.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor to approve the audit with right hand vote? Any opposed?
I include some information in the packet for you about the Southern Regional Meeting in Hot Springs this summer, as well as the national meeting, which is coming up fairly soon. We've had some conversation about that. I just wanted to let you see this, and you know, I'm happy for you, any of you, all of you, to go to either or both. It doesn't require board action for you to do that. It's implicit in you being a board member that you have the opportunity to do that if you would wish. I don't know whether you all want to talk about it among yourselves or think about it or whatever you want to do, but here's the information for you.
Having been to both, it's, I mean, our state meeting is a good meeting, but this is way above that. So if you get a chance to go, I would, especially the national meeting, it's an outstanding meeting.
Of course, the Southern Region meeting is in Hot Springs.
Yes.
So that's, you know, makes it really easy to go to and obviously less expensive. But please take a look at it, just think about it. If you want to go, just let me know or let Janet know. And so if several of you want to go to either one of them, we'll get the arrangements all put together for everybody. If you take a look at it and maybe let me know something by the end of next week, give you the rest of this week and next week to think about it. And if you want to go, just let us know, and then we'll start working on arrangements.
Okay.
Do both of those count toward continuing?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
You can catch back up.
I need to catch up.
All right, then we have some student
In fact, there's a lot
transfers.
more opportunity.
We have 3 different petitions for transfer. It is a total of 10 students transferring from Van Buren to Alma. Yeah.
One family, 6
Yeah,
girls.
one family, 6.
Yes.
All foster
Girls.
kids.
Well,
All
yeah,
girls.
yeah, super sweet. Do I have a motion to approve those?
Motion we
I'll
approve.
second the petition.
All in favor to approve those transfers with a right hand vote? Any opposed? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Wait a minute.
Oh,
Just a minute, please. I have something I want to say. Sorry. I appreciate the way you all handled the food service thing. I agree with the sentiment that you expressed. It was going to be, you can't do something like this and make it work if your staff doesn't want it to. You know, that's just the hard truth. And I regret that they got to the point that they did, but they did. And you, of course, when the 4 ladies that spoke, you heard some incorrect information. I'm sure you picked up on some of that, and that's okay. You know, I understand that. I certainly wasn't about to speak up and correct them, but I do appreciate the way you all handled that. Let me say again, I'm okay with that. I wasn't ever convinced. I had not gotten to the point of thinking we got to do this, and I'm not sure I would have ever gotten to that point. I'm not sure that I was going to come in recommending that we do this. So it's fine with me, and I just wanted you all to know that it's fine with me what we did.
Yep. And I think my personal decision was not based 100% on what the district employees had to say. Just folks in the community that I spoke to about it just didn't really seem to be in favor of it.
Just the wrong size community.
Yes.
And just, absolutely, not the right time.
I just was impressed with their loyalty and dedication. I had no idea some of them had, decades of service. I think that says a lot about everybody in this building and everybody here, that, they work for everybody in here.
Yeah.
Not, they're managed by somebody else, so it says a lot. I was really impressed. And the way they handle themselves, I did not hear one bad word, written or verbal, about anybody in this building.
And somewhere down the road, some future year, the board may want to look at this again, and if so, fine. If not, that's fine too.
they will sleep easier tonight.
Sure.
And that's a big benefit. A lot of good buddies, so. I will
Make a
now
motion
take.
to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Carrie, did you sign twice on the things?
You act like I've messed it up before.
Well,
Last time I signed in the wrong spot, make sure I signed in the right spot.
you did.
The
That's
link
funny, I
to the
just
cheer
found it on there.
competition is varsitytv.com,
Oh.
and that's where you subscribe. The other varsity is a whole different.
I don't know, watch it.
Sorry about that.
I'm assuming we have like an industrial paper shredding. I'm gonna leave it. Yeah, she liked that herself, so you can still read the last photo.
But I don't think you can
Welcome to the world of retirement.
Now the real work. Telling them I'm fully employed.
Yeah, we hear you.
Unless you decide to sign it. You weren't on that list.
Yeah, I think we decided that they would be Spanish man. You'd be all right with that, as long as we thank you.
Back to the rest of
Man, I tried to get out of there. So I was texting in Russellville, and they're saving.
Relatives from one end of the state to
They're
the
saving,
other.
they're saving money on their
talked to
Airmark
Jerry
contract,
yesterday.
but the payroll is one of the big ones.
Yeah, it just, and that is,
He says, he started
Andrew
already.
has gotten some good grants with some new person in theirs, and we're gonna, that's what we need to do and push for.
I just wish we get something to make my damn kids eat in the cafeteria, because I am so tired of making the peanut butter sandwiches.
Tell them they gotta make their own.
They do everything but that.
I do have a
They
question.
fix whatever else they put in there, chips and whatever.
You know,
62.5, but he, you know.
Sean, that is one of the toughest challenges in school food service. Two opposing issues. On the one hand, we want our teachers to eat good food. We want our teachers to what Brussels sprouts taste like. On the other hand, we want them to eat something.
So my problem with my wife, she's weak, right? Because she's just as picky. So when she goes out of town, we've had tears over 4 English peas before when she's been out of town. So yeah, it's tough at my house.
Yeah, I understand. Your boys are 8th grade and 6th grade?
Yes.
Yeah, you're in the most fun time.
It's not bad. They're just starting to be teenagers. Yeah.
I do have a question for you, Matt. I heard from a high school teacher that, I think it was Charles King, they didn't cook it, but our cooks cooked them chicken tacos. Back before Christmas or right after.
I wish I.
They said there was somebody that came and cooked like a sample meal.
Oh, that's true. Debbie, I can't tell you who this person was. They have been through tankers. That is true, but it had nothing to do with Charles.
Okay.
Nothing whatsoever.
Well, they didn't know, I asked them.
That's not the first time we've done that. There's this chef, if you will, that's what he does. He's go into the school kitchen and show cooks new ideas.
So that's nothing
Is
to
it
do
the
with
giant black?
outsourcing.
Is it the giant black dude?
I don't know.
Is that fit too? I think I should take that.
And that has nothing at all to do with outsourcing.
He's huge. He played football for Auburn.
Well, I ate vegetable soup basil last week with a cinnamon roll.
Of course.
Not wheat cinnamon roll.
That was a real one.
Real one? Oh, go back to real ones.
Oh, cool.
There were parrots all over the place.
Yeah, oh, yeah, well, they grew up on the cinnamon roll.
I've got no doubt we get some impressive director. I think these girls will cook anything we give them.
Well,
that's not the problem.
in the whole process of us working on this the last 6 weeks, we've learned some things that are going to help us.
Yeah.
We've got some ideas of things, just from talking to other schools. So that part of it's going to turn out to be beneficial for us.
I think, Dave, now that movies have considered this, they're going to be.